Yes.
And thank you for being here with us today. Can you take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us about how dementia has impacted your life?
All right. Well, my name is Anne, and my husband has had dementia for about 3 years now. I think that I have been more prepared, maybe than some, because I have dealt with support groups for ostomy related injuries for 35 years. So I know that information, inspiration, and support are all very important. And that's what I've gotten from Careblazers. And I'm happy for that because it just fits into this new reality, if you will. So it helps me, it's very cathartic to write down what's happening. So I've written down what dementia is, how it affects him, how it affects me. So I've been encouraged by my writing group and, of course, my family to publish these because when I read them, they say, oh, could I send this to this person? Could I send this to that person? And they come back with lovely emails. So I know from writing about having an ostomy that people do get comfort from knowing someone else is going through this journey. And although it's different for everybody, it helps. It really helps to be surrounded by people who know your life and how that impacts you and your loved one.
Yeah. So, in some ways, it sounds like writing is therapeutic for you and for other people.
It is. And I've also been doing presentations to women's groups, and I insert some of that into whatever the theme is. And it's interesting that after the presentation, people will come up and say, this really resonated with me because, it may be dementia, it may be something else that I've said. So, I think there's a place for it.
Yeah. Has writing always been a big part of your life?
It has. We were very fortunate to travel a lot. And so I wrote prose and poetry about our travels. And, I've always kind of written, but I got serious about it when I got the colorectal cancer diagnosis. So I wrote a lot of cancer survivor poems. And then I wrote about having an ostomy. And I published that in a small book called The Healing Circle. And that morphed into It's Okay to Have an Ostomy. And that's gone to hundreds of people. So during the pandemic, when we had plenty of time, I gathered together a lot of my stories that I had written through the years about having an ostomy. I was very fortunate to be involved in the local, national, and international levels with the United Ostomy Association. So I had an opportunity to impact a lot of lives by what I wrote and what I said. And so I put together Cancer to Caring, which was the story from diagnosis through my work with the ostomy community. And since faith is really an important part of my life, I put together all my spiritual poems in a poetic journey of faith. So I've self-published these. I've given them away. I don't write to make money. Poetry doesn't make money anyway, but I write to help myself and to impact other people. But I must say that the survival guide and the 7-day course that Careblazers offered led me to write things about that. So if you'd like, I can read Careblazer.
It's a poem called Careblazer.
Yes, a lack of awareness, the hallmark of dementia, is called anosognosia. I don't need to have this new word at the forefront of my lexicon. Just understand that I have to make sense of his world. Careblazers is an online resource that provides strategies for folks like me navigating a different kind of care. They recommend telling compassionate lies, not to deceive, but to relieve anxiety. It's not important who got the mail or whether it rained Monday or Tuesday or if we went to South America. This is minor stuff, irrelevant, inconsequential. Resist the urge to argue, correct, or reason, they say. It will reduce your stress and keep you healthy. You have a choice to be right or happy. Choose joy and let it show in a calm demeanor. A serene and peaceful exterior will help him stave off agitation and troublesome behaviors. I'm a caregiver, traveling a care-blazing journey of love.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I have come to the realization that, nothing's going to change. Obviously, he's in a moderate stage and it's okay. I'm choosing to find joy in the journey. And I think that's really important. I did go to one caregiver support group meeting where there were like 25 people, and it was so negative
Was
that I said,
that
I'll
where,
never
who was
go
that
back.
with? That wasn't with our
It
group,
was
was it?
no, no, no. This was, I live in Venice, Florida, and it was
Okay,
with the Senior Friendship Center.
got it.
And having facilitated support groups for a long time, I just did not think that the facilitator helped to move that in a positive direction. She just
Yeah.
let it fester.
And I think that's a common thing that happens a lot. It's easy to go down that path in dementia caregiving, especially when you get a group of caregivers together and then one says something and another piggybacks and it goes into this negative spiral. But you said something very important that I do think people would love to hear more about, and that is you're choosing a path of joy. Can you elaborate on what you mean when you say that and how you do that?
Well, I think that some of the books I've read and what I've heard from you is that I consciously find ways to be grateful. So at the end of the day, when I'm laying in bed, I say, okay, what am I grateful for today? And I focus on the positive. I know it's not all positive, but I know that if I recognize the negative and address it in my own thinking, then I can deal with it or change it. I think that in working with other support groups, people aren't going to change until they change their thinking. And so that has been really important. But I mean, I laugh at the funny things. When things go wrong, I say, okay, it happened in the moment. Let's go on to the next moment. I think it's just important to retain your own sense of worth in all this.
Have you always been a pretty positive person, or do you feel like, especially as dementia started to enter the picture, you had to work at this a little bit?
I think it was a new reality. I had dealt with, I've been married for 65 years and I have 4 children and 4 grandchildren and 3 great grandchildren. So, there have been highs and lows throughout my life. I was an educator, and I think I learned as a teacher that if you had a difficulty with a child and the parent came in, they needed to tell their story before they were willing to listen to you. And so that's really important. And I think your caregivers need, and I hear that on the videos, they need to tell their story before they're ready to listen or change their thinking. I'm happy. My husband is in fairly good health other than dementia. He had a hospitalization which set him back quite a bit with weakness and so forth, but I'm happy every day because it's not a matter of dealing with it. I think it's a matter of just experiencing life in a different way, being positive about that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful perspective. Okay, so this book of poems you have about dementia, do you have another poem to share with us?
Let's try the hill. He stares at the calendar, asks, it says cleaning. What is that? I tell them we're going to the dentist today. Is that the one on the hill? Today I say yes. It's not the right answer, this compassionate line, but it will satisfy him in this moment. There are no hills where we live. This strategy soothes his anxiety. I've learned I don't have to be right as long as he has comfort in the answer. I wonder as the countdown begins at 8 a.m. and he asks, what time do we need to leave? Whether the hill to him means a 2-story building or simply going north. 1:30, I say, knowing the question will be repeated all through the morning. Have patience, I tell myself, understanding that it is his way of seeking control of the moment. There are no hills where we live, only the bumpy inclines of navigating dementia.
Wow, that's another beautiful poem, and it captures a common situation so many Careblazers face, but it's written so beautifully.
Well, thank you. I've written, several like that. that it's funny because he was an electrical engineer. His designs went to the moon. And now, before he couldn't drive, he just didn't know which way to go at any intersection. So, it's quite a change in his intellect. Jenna asked me to read Away, so I'll do that. Most of my poetry is free verse. This is a specified kind of poem called a guzzle, which is quite interesting because the last word in every second stanza is the same word. I wish his memories would stay, but they are slipping far away. There is no pill or cure in sight to make dementia go away. Be kind and thoughtful day by day. Trust that frustration will stay away. Cast aside the aggravations. Read a novel to fade away. Watch a movie, say a prayer, go to the park to walk away. For now at home I have to stay, though I would rather fly away, go to favorite places, don my sneakers and stride away. Cobblestone streets or boulevards, different venues to stroll away. Breathing unique and special smells, tasting dishes, dining away. Sculpture gardens, museum rooms, special places to hide away. I'm tethered to the status quo, impossible to run away. My mind can conjure many things, helps me to stay, yet be away. I have to make the best of it, 'cause love won't let me turn away.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to feel strong emotion and reaction to those words because it's so beautifully put and also captures the reality of what so many Careblazers are in right now.
Yeah. And I think if you can, for me at least, I can capture those feelings and put them down and share them with other people, they can see, okay, this is how she's dealing with it. Maybe I can do something to change my thinking in order to be more positive with my loved one.
I love that. And it might be writing for some people like it is for you. It might be something totally different. But what you're saying is that you are making a choice to look at this through different thoughts. And that's been helpful for you as you go through this journey, which, as you say, because of love, you cannot turn away.
Right. And I know in your 7-day course, you said, what is the reason you're doing this? And are you comfortable with that reason? And I am. And, I think that's really important, that things may get more difficult, but it's okay. You do the best you can each day, each moment, really. And I know that I've written about the edge. In other words, I'm conscious of the edge I put in my voice sometimes. But being conscious of it makes me think, okay, be careful what you say. Think about it before you give a response. Those kinds of things have been really helpful for me, knowing that, it's part of really good structure and strategies to live a joyful life, if you will, with a person that has a problem. And it may not be dementia, it may be a serious illness. So I'm happy.
The program you were talking about is How to Make Caregiving Easier. And a lot of that really was focused on changing what you're thinking about your situation. Because if we can't change dementia and we aren't going to walk away from our loved ones, then we have to change what we can. And it sounds like you've really taken in a lot of those principles. But I also imagine your own experience with an ostomy has also helped prepare you for this challenge.
It has, because, and in dealing with the support groups that I've been able to help other people, they need to know the information, but they also need the support, they need the inspiration. They need to know that if you've been through this for 35 years, I can deal with it. And we give the practical aspects of it. We're not medical people by any means. But when I was president of the United Ostomy Association, I had to write a president's letter. And oftentimes I would add a poem in there. And I recall like 3 years later, I was at a convention and this woman came running up to me, hugged me, and she said, Anne, I can't thank you for your poem Reclamation. I have it on my refrigerator. I read it every morning and it helps me get through the day. Wow, that my words could touch somebody. But that's part of who I am, I guess, that I'm willing to give of myself and give of my words or talent or whatever God's given me. So
I love that because it's your own healing, but in your own healing process, you are helping others to heal. And I think that is just the most wonderful thing. So
yes.
tell us, Anne, where could people find these poems if they want to read more or they want to put these poems on their refrigerator?
Well, as I say, the book is not published yet. I can give you a link when it is. I have about 22. So again, it talks about the condition. I won't say disease, the condition, and how it affects my loved one, how it affects me. And I think there are strategies in there. I talk about mining for words, helping him with trying to get words out and going with, I think maybe the funniest thing is my husband is paranoid about somebody breaking into the house or something, and that's fine. So we're ready to get in the car, and he says, I'm going to scooch down because who's ever watching the house will see that it's just you in the car, and they'll know I'm still home. So normally I would say, hey, we got an alarm system, but I don't say that. I say, oh, what a good idea. We back out of the car. He sits straight up. He doesn't scooch down. The moment was fine. He felt comfort. So, that's the kind of thing that I think people need to know. It's just kind of just put yourself in their world and respond in that manner.
It's beautiful. And sometimes them just knowing you heard them and you're okay with what they're saying is enough to give them that relief and it can move on versus trying to get them to stop believing the thing that they're believing, which is going to keep it around longer and make it so much worse. That's such a beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that. And also, just to point out, in his perspective and in his reality, if he really did think people were watching the house, that's a really great approach. It's a really great solution to scooch down so somebody would think he's still in the house. Like
Yeah.
just an amazing insight into the viewpoint of somebody with dementia, with paranoia. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So before we end, Anne, is there anything else you'd like to say to Careblazers watching?
I would say just listen and learn and put that into practice as much as you can and be kind to yourself because you're doing the best you can for your loved one. And whether you know that they know it or not, you should feel okay with your life. And again, find joy in it as much as you can.
And I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing part of your story and also sharing your art and poetry with us. Can you just say again your age, who you care for, and how long your husband has had dementia?
Well, I'm 86. My husband's 87. He has vascular dementia. And as I say, we've been married for 65 years. We lived in Massachusetts, and now been in Florida for about 21 years. And we're really happy here. And he said the other day, is this our house? I said, yes, honey, this is our forever home. We're going to be here. You don't have to worry about it. It's all paid, all that. So it's really a wonderful life. If I had to choose, the dementia is okay. People suffer with so many other kinds of things that they have no control over. But we're doing the best we can, and I'm happy in the journey. And I thank you for all of your information and the support and the inspiration, because I think those are the three tenets that really help Careblazers. And it's not just strategies, it's taking your mind to a different place, putting yourself in the mindset, if you will, of your loved one and entering into that as much as you can, but keeping that relationship as close and as wonderful as you can. I've been fortunate to be able to do that.
I love it. It's very clear. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me. And if my book gets published, I will let you know
All right.
if anybody's interested. But as I say, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm just doing this to share.
That's okay. We'll make sure we put a link below the video so you can just reach out to us when that time comes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Anne.
Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.